The man went and told the Jews who had found fault, because the healing was done on a Sabbath, that it was Jesus who had healed him. For this Jesus was persecuted, and also because he called God, the I Am Presence, Father, which would make him equal to God. He said his Father God works all the time. Supposing God took a day off, we would have no light, no energy from the sun. Things would not grow, the beings of the elements would not take care of things, and even our bodies would not function. Jesus told them those who heard his word and believed on him, the I Am Presence, who had sent him, would have everlasting life. At the pool, Jesus healed only one out of the many who had come for healing. This shows he did not heal everyone needing it. Why not? Because the law of their own being did not permit it, and the judge of such things is each one's own Christ self. Evidently, they had not yet learned the lesson they needed to learn from their illness. Jesus knew that, since he was attuned to the Christ consciousness. For those whom it was permitted or possible, the Christ self made him know through his own Christ self. On a Sabbath, as they passed through a field of grain, the disciples, being hungry, plucked some grain and ate it. Some Pharisees saw them and asked Jesus why they did that, which was not lawful on the Sabbath. This was according to human concepts and not divine law. Since everyone eats on the Sabbath, as well as on other days, there was nothing unlawful about it, as the Sabbath was made for and by man, and not man for the Sabbath. Jesus was master, authority, lord or law over the Sabbath, as well as other human beings. On another Sabbath, he entered the synagogue, where a man was with a withered hand. Jesus was aware of the Pharisee and scribes watching for opportunities to accuse him. They asked him if it was lawful to cure on the Sabbath. So he asked them which was lawful, to do good or evil on the Sabbath, to save life or destroy it. He then healed the man's hand and asked him to stretch it forth. It was completely restored, but the others took offense because he did it on the Sabbath. They discussed what to do and began planning how they might do away with him. Jesus used common sense about everything and was not subject to fanatical ideas from priests and those who were following the letter of the law, as did the Pharisees, instead of the spirit of the law. So when a thing or service was to be done, he did it. He was also accused of his works being performed by the devil. Jesus went to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and his disciples followed him. On the Sabbath he taught in the synagogue. Many who heard him were astonished. Jesus did not say to everyone who went along with him, "Follow me," but only to certain ones. This was because he knew from within, through the Christ consciousness, which ones were ready and meant to do so. When one has attained Christ consciousness as he had, that is easily and readily determined, because the Christ self of everyone is one in action. Some people were in embodiment for the purpose of serving with Jesus and were looking for it, but missed it, because of certain human qualities being too prominent. Such was the case with Saul of Tarsus. Many were called, although did not hear, did not recognize it, or were not willing to or could not give the obedience to take the discipline because of their human accumulation. Some of these are an embodiment again and are still searching and waiting, expecting to be called, but are missing the opportunity of this cycle also. Even though they get new age consciousness, they want to fit the new ideas into the old and go along with their own groove, the same as before, instead of doing that which is essential and necessary at this time, as the Ascended Masters have pointed out. So they miss their calling. Some say they want to serve the light, yet they want to do it their way, but they do not give the necessary cooperation, but they are willing to be confined to a job or position. Then why not be willing to do that much for the light? Just serving the human way of life constructively is not what is meant by serving the light. One can do that in many ways and yet not do that which he came into embodiment to do to fulfill his divine plan. People usually have a self-righteous feeling about it, and it gives rise to self-justification for what they are doing. Most responses are backed by human aims instead of purely for the light. It takes a lot of conditioning of those inner bodies to get to the point of really serving the light. The intellect may be willing, but there is resistance and obstruction in the feeling, much of the time unknown to the individual.